nobody can hear
The
him.
only downside is that I forgot to put the stats on all these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Madden, so it's not like I can't go
Well,
look at them as we're doing
some
it.
retired, some switched
Oh.
teams, and
Yeah.
some are in free agency. So
Yeah, the free agent guys we can't look at.
yeah, it's a
That is
little
true.
weird at the moment, but it's fine. I mean, we don't really need. I mean, we can usually see the
Yeah.
offensive line is kind of weird. Just because.
Yeah, because you have to go to the teams to actually see everyone.
Yeah, I
It's really frustrating when you're trying to make an all-pro list and you don't
mhm.
know
I just
who
know the offensive
actually gave up
line.
what sex.
I just know the offensive line. We're always the least amount of sacks allowed plus the most downs played. That's basically all I did for that.
Sean with a ring is here. Kevin's in the chat. So he's basically you with a ring in Madden. Sean also has a ring from Doug, so I mean...
I do have one.
Yes, the same amount as you, Kevin. Now, yes, it's not in this league, but Sean's teams used to kick the shit out of my Colts teams and Doug, so...
Yeah, the Jaguars going. Not so much now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got a chance to compete in the AFC East now that Cody's just blowing it up.
I've also done a lot, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But what do we got? 7 people.
We got 7. Yeah, we can go ahead and start it up.
Said I don't have a Doug ring either. He's not even in Doug's league, is he?
No, he's not in
I was about to say, I
Doug's
don't think
league.
he is.
He's not. He's just talking shit.
Makes
You
sense
don't
to
have
me.
one in AGML either, Kevin, so shut up. Yeah. So we're here with the all division teams. I'm going to let Sean lead it, and I'll just kind of chime in with why guys are where they are. So if you want to get started with the AFC North, Sean.
Yeah, we'll get started in the AFC North. Pretty easy choice here for the QB spot. It's Joe Burrow. I mean, he was hyped up as like the MVP candidate most of the year, or
Yeah.
a MVP candidate for most of the year. So
Only by me. Yeah, he threw for 3,600 yards, 26 touchdowns. It was the rushing that did it for Burrow. He had another 600 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. You could have made an argument here for Dwayne Haskins, but they weren't very good, and the Bengals went 13-3.
yeah, that completion
And then there's
percentage kind of
74% and 69 for Haskins.
Yeah.
So
So we go to running back, and I'm just going to do the running back and flex together right now. We have Joe Mixon at the running back spot, and then we have J.K. Dobbins at the flex position.
yeah, I mean, pretty clear for these two guys. McCaffrey was only in the division for half the season. You could make the argument for Chubb and his 22 touchdowns, but he only had like 1,300 total yards, and 1,293 of them were rushing. So you've got Mixon with almost 1,750 and Dobbins with 1,530. These guys were far and away the two best running backs in the AFC North.
Yeah, the difference as well is Mixon and Dobbins were actually used in the passing game, whereas Chubb was not.
Yep.
So it makes it a pretty easy choice when the rushing totals aren't,
Close.
too different. So
Yeah.
the wide receivers, tight end went to Chase Claypool because
Cheese.
yeah,
Cheese Claypool.
I mean the next closest tight end. Actually, Austin Hooper had a really good year, and other divisions he might have had a chance to compete, but when you're against this kind of cheese, I guess you don't really have a shot. But the wide receiver spots went to Juju Smith-Schuster and Devonta Smith.
Yeah, Juju, 300 yards than the next closest receiver, and then Devontae with 4 more touchdowns than Rashard Higgins. So it's not really a competition there. Higgins only had 50 more yards, so
yeah,
pretty easy to see why these guys were the best in this division. Not a lot of parity here.
Yeah. So we go to offensive line, and I don't know if anybody was in here earlier, but offensive line's going to be a little weird just because people retire, people move teams, and just in general, offensive line's kind of weird to go through on a team here. But left tackle, we had Ronnie Stanley of the Ravens. Left guard was Laken Tomlinson of the Bengals. Center was Amari Ryans of the Browns. Right guard was Kelechi Osemele of the Steelers. And then right tackle was Spencer LeClaire of the Bengals.
And there's not much to say about offensive line. Spencer LeClaire ended up being all-pro also.
Yeah, Spencer
Ronnie
LeClaire
Stanley gave
really
up 6. Yeah. For a right tackle to only give up 5 sacks, that's crazy in this Madden. They're usually like 15.
Especially since he's not one of those like superstar guys, or not even. I don't know what his overall is.
Now he is.
I don't know if
now he's a superstar guy.
Yeah,
but he wasn't.
Is he even top 10 at his position? Like,
I wouldn't.
He's
I wouldn't
barely
think
top
so.
10. He's number 9.
Oh. Oof.
So I mean, he's not even one of those top overall guys at that position. So for him to play that well, it's really solid. Cerulio says 2 sacks were in 1 game. Makes sense.
Yeah,
that's usually how it goes.
When it rains, it pours for these guys.
Right. All right, so go to defense, and we're going to start off with the edge positions. We have Myles Garrett and J.J. Watt. Which,
yeah.
I mean,
J.J. Watt not retired. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of the more dominating defensive players in the league right now, and just in general.
Yeah. I think Myles will be around for a long time. You know, he's only 28. He's going to dominate for a long time. Watt, on the other hand, is old. Can't believe he's still in the league. But 18.5 sacks, 16.5 sacks for those 2 guys, respectively. Both forced a few fumbles. So, pretty good seasons from these guys.
I will say, moving forward, Evan Vernon of the Ravens and Charles Snowden of the Bengals both could push to compete for these spots going forward. They're both 1-year pros, I believe, or Snowden's 2-year. But I mean, both really young guys, both already, pretty good.
And Vernon wasn't in the division last year, so he wouldn't have been considered anyway. He was on the Colts last season.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He was part of that Lamar trade.
I don't remember him being on the Ravens, but yeah. So Vernon and Snowden, both really good young players that can definitely move up and compete for these type of spots here. Going to defensive tackle, they actually both come from the Ravens. One of them retired though, so Calais Campbell and Jay Tufuli. Calais Campbell was insane. I think if I remember correctly, it was like 20 tackles for loss, 20 sacks or something insane.
It was like 16 sacks and then 22 tackles for loss.
He went crazy. He was definitely
Yeah, he was a monster. Tufuli is a nice piece, especially for this rebuilding Ravens defense, because he's young. His overall's not great, but you could do worse there for
the defensive tackles in this division were pretty lackluster, to be honest with you. I mean, DJ Reader had 3 tackles for loss and 8.5 sacks. Rashad Armstrong, who was all rookie, he played pretty well, but still not better than Tufuli. And then Christian Barmore. I honestly think Barmore can do better. I don't know what.
He fell off last year. He had 18.5 sacks. He was insane last year. He
only played 12 games this season, but
okay.
I don't know. I still think he definitely should have performed a lot better than what he did. So.
Oh yeah, I agree.
All right, so now we're gonna go to the linebackers. And we got Logan Wilson of the Bengals, Zach Shade of the Steelers, and Mac Wilson of the Browns. And I just want to start here real quick. I am really surprised with the Zach Shade guy. I see why the Steelers was okay with moving on from Devin Bush. He's really good.
Yeah, I said this. Yeah, I said the same thing yesterday when I did State of the Franchise. I forgot that Zach Shade was the original Steelers users legacy player. I didn't even think about it. That's why. So But yeah, he's really good. Logan Wilson has been an absolute monster in this league. 5 forced fumbles, 4 recovered, 141 yards in return from fumbles. Like, this guy, if he did a little bit more tackles wise and other stuff, he probably would have been all pro.
Yeah, maybe get
He's
another
very
INT
similar.
here or there, something like that.
Yep. Yeah, but this guy is good. And Mac Wilson is a fine player. He, gets some deflections, an interception, a few sacks. But I think he benefits the most from the players around him.
Yeah,
So.
Mac Wilson was more so one of those choices where it was better of the worst options, I want to say, because the third spot in this division wasn't really good.
Right.
Because after
Yeah,
those
there are
top-
definitely
after
some
the-
other
yeah.
divisions that are better.
After those top two, it kind of falls off. Like Anzalone didn't do much. Patrick Queen did okay, but he didn't really do much. So I mean, he's just kind of the better of the worst options. So,
Right.
but he still gets the number 3 spot in the AFC North still. So, cornerback.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty obvious who's the number 1 cornerback in this division. But Tre'Davious White. I mean, yeah. Number 2 CB put Marshawn Lattimore there.
Yeah, 16 deflections is really nice. I can see why that, a forced fumble. Didn't do much else. Like, no, the 2 interceptions or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But 16 deflections is huge for a corner. So I see why he was picked over. I mean, nobody else.
I think the only
who
other
would've been
person you
running.
might be able to say had an argument would maybe be Taven Young, just because he had 4 less deflections and he had 5 more TFLs and a sack. But those deflections come in handy, especially when Marshawn Lattimore is covering number 1 receivers most of the time, and Taven Young is in the slot covering kind of random guys. So kind of added to that aspect as well. Go to the safety spots here. And both actually come from the Bengals. It is Jesse Bates III and Keanu Neal.
Yeah. Cirillo has a really nice secondary with these two and Trey White. It's almost like somebody traded Trey White away.
Yeah. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
But the fact that the one thing I want to say for like Cirillo is like Jesse Bates should be a superstar player, and it's crazy to me that he's not. Madden's logic for it doesn't make sense to me. The first year he had like 9 interceptions or something, so sorry, Cirillo.
I still don't know what these dynamics with you.
Yeah.
So go to special teams. It's funny, Chris Boswell actually stayed in the division. Went to a different. Anyway, Chris Boswell, kicker for the AFC North, was on the Steelers now.
Yeah. You're kind of really quiet right now.
Me?
Yeah.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're better now.
Sorry, I think I had it kind of further away from my mouth. Because I was going to the kitchen for a second. So Chris Boswell's the kicker. Switched teams this offseason. Stayed in the AFC North, though, so he'll still be used to those weathers for the AFC North. Punting goes to Jamie Gillen. He had one of the better averages as far as punters in general, but especially for this division. And he also had a pretty good ratio for being inside the 20. Then kick return went to John Ross.
Yep.
Because nobody in this division had a touchdown like others, but he also had a 1.4 average over the next closest person. And punt returner went to Christian McCaffrey because he had a touchdown.
No, I agree. All those are fine. Special teams, it is what it is. It's hard to pick punt returners when this Madden they don't really ever get returns. So
yeah, and when they do return it, they return it maybe 4 yards.
Yeah. So
and then they try to
moving on to the yeah.
Oh wait.
Moving on to the AFC South.
So the AFC South got rid of all their quarterbacks, which I don't blame them one bit.
Yes.
There's literally one quarterback in this division right now.
Yeah.
Desmond Ritter's holding it down, man.
And he's been trying to move on from Ritter too.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, the actual quarterback for this division was Drew Lock. I mean, he wasn't amazing, but to be fair, nobody in this division was. So
yeah, they're all bad.
but he did have 5,000 yards, which definitely sets him apart from the others. So that's why he gets it. So
Yeah.
going to running back and the flex spots, it hurt me to leave Henry off this list, but the running back goes to Dwayne Glenn, and the flex spot goes to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, and it's the touchdowns and the receiving that I think would do it for Taylor, right?
Yeah, for sure. Taylor actually led he was fourth in the division in receiving yards, and he had 3 touchdowns on top. He almost had 1,000-yard receiving season. I think that might be one of the first times I've seen a running back almost get 1,000 season in like a sim league.
Right. And Glenn, the number 2 pick, was just really good for the Texans. He was about the only bright spot on the Texans this year.
Yeah. Stole my offensive rookie of the year from me, which,
Yeah.
to be fair, probably should have, but it's okay. We're taking draft capital into account. Thomason's definitely better. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Going to receiver, we picked Jamar Chase and Rashad Bateman, and, I mean, not really any reason not to.
I mean, Shark had more touchdowns, but it's only 1.
Yeah.
Same with Pittman. And these guys were just far and above. I mean, both these guys were discussed heavily for All-Pro, so.
Yeah. So not too much argument there. Maybe if Shark hits the 1K mark or gets a little above it, we have a discussion, but as far as that's concerned, not really. So tight end, I was actually surprised about this. Early on, it looked like Cameron Brate was going to run away with it, but Johnny Smith came out of nowhere and took the spot from him.
Well, Blair tried to pull a Twinkie and start Jake Fromm, and that's just a mistake. This isn't Madden 20, and it's not Doug GM. So, but Jonnu had a nice season, 955. This is a division where if Hooper's here, he wins it, but he's not.
Right. So we go to offensive line, and just going to run through this real quick. So the left tackle spot, we got Taylor Lewan. He only played 10 games, but in those 10 games, he only allowed 3 sacks, and all the other left tackles in this division got absolutely trashed. So
yeah, they're all bad.
They allowed 13, and 15 sacks. So you know what? 3 sacks in 10 games, you get the vote for me. Left guard, we have Max Sharping of the Texans. Center, we have Nick Martin of the Texans. Which I don't.
He's
not showing up here.
Yeah, he's on.
Right guard, we have Nolan Laufenberg from the Titans.
Right here.
And right tackle, we have Jawan Taylor of the Jaguars.
Yeah. Again, nothing to say here, nothing to see. Offensive line is terrible.
Yeah, it's not too
unless you're on Cody's team.
Yeah, right. You got that commish cheese. All right, so going to the defense, we actually have both edge spots coming from the Jaguars for Josh Allen and Kayvon Chaisson.
Both had 15 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 5 and 2 fumbles forced. So, these are the guys. You could make the argument for Von Miller, but one more sack in.
Yeah, I think I put Chaisson over him just because you expect more from Miller, right?
Right.
You didn't expect this from Chaisson. So for him to be performing on the same level as Miller, I got to give it to him because he definitely deserves it. Especially since, SS and XF defensive linemen usually just manhandle all types of awards. So, defensive tackle. The defensive tackles in this division were actually pretty solid. We got Taven Bryan and Sheldon Rankins.
Yeah, Bryan here with 10.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. He was second-team All-Pro. And Rankins, eight tackles for loss and 8 interceptions, or 8 sacks plus the interception.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. That long 2-yard interception.
Right. Hey, an interception's an interception. That's something that 97% of defensive tackles in the league do not have. So
right. So yeah. So good job for Luja getting that guy.
All right. So the 3 linebackers here, Bobby Okereke, who had way too many tackles, Rashawn Evans of the Titans, and then Miles Jack of the Jaguars.
Yeah, the Okereke with just an insane amount of tackles and 4 sacks, the 3 interceptions. Just a solid season. Jack, I expect more from Miles Jack, but that's just me. It's a nice season, but Miles Jack is one of the better young linebackers in this Madden. And then Rashawn Evans is nice at, 11.5 sacks and 5 forced fumbles. So
he had a pretty similar season to Donta Hightower, who, spoiler alert, will be on his own list. Miles Jack, definitely expect more from him. But like I said with what was his name, Mac Wilson in the other division, there just wasn't another good third linebacker to really warrant not putting him on. You could maybe make the case for Jalen Brown, but he had a few. Not either. Did Bobby? I didn't pay attention to him a little bit. Did Bobby Okereke make second team or first team All Pro?
He did not.
Was he? I assume he was in like the final talks for it. He had a really good year.
Yeah, he did. He was one of the last guys off of the list. It was him, like Jerome Baker and a few other guys who were just at the end of the list.
Yeah. Well, good news for Lee is that Okereke got the dynamic dev, and I know that there's some issues with linebackers being boosted from normal star to superstar, but that's one where I would assume that's not like this. Like I assume that was actually dynamic dev and not.
Yeah, that's definitely not that's not one that's been brought up.
Right. So good for him getting that star dev from the actual dynamic dev. However, those worked this year. So we go to corner. We got Asante Samuel Jr. and Adoree Jackson. I believe it's Adoree. I honestly, I don't know.
It's Adoree. You guys had this discussion. This is where I was listening. It's Adoree.
Okay.
It's dumb because the mark is above the end.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's at the end. This is a bad division for corners, though. Mm-hmm. When your 2 best corners in the division are only getting 2 interceptions, and part of the problem is this is a very
run heavy.
Well, an inactive division. Not a lot of these guys stream.
That is
so
true.
They're not getting the cheese from interceptions. Like, they basically only stream against each other for sure. So, I don't have much to say. Like, congrats to these 2 guys, but they wouldn't have even sniffed the list in most of their divisions.
Right. I assume that might be actually. Is that why Okereke wasn't? Did Colts get enough streams to be on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Lee is one of the only guys who streams most of his games in this division.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right. So anyway, going to safety, both from the Texans actually, because they were probably on the field a lot. Justin Reed and Kevin Calhoun.
Let's see. Yeah, again, not much to say here. 1 interception for Calhoun, 2 for Justin Reed. 3 for Justin Reed, sorry.
This was another one of those instances of just being slightly better than the other somehow.
Yeah, I guess you could make the argument here for Byard because he did have 4 interceptions, but...
So, I gave it to Reed because he had 4 more deflections and he also had a forced fumble.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, just like I said, very, very slight edge. And I mean the smallest of edges. So,
yeah.
Going to special teams, We got Josh Lambo from the Jags, 96% completion. Field goal percentage. He was actually 9 for 9 from 50 yards or more. So that's really good.
And his only miss was a block, which he can't do anything about.
Right. So I mean, Lambo was money this year. Punter went to Michael Carroll. He punted a lot. He didn't have the best average, but he had the best ratio for like inside the 20 to like the punts he made. So overall, he performed really well. And especially with that offense, he was needing to really flip field position, so it was a good thing that he did. Kick return, Raheem Mostert.
I mean, he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, whatever. Nobody else even had a chance, but Lionel White at the Titans did a pretty solid job this season, even though he got outshined. Punt returner went to Josiah Scott of the Jaguars.
And average is good here. That's about, and he returned 20 kicks, so I get it. Yeah. That's it for these guys. Congrats to the AFC South, where the Jags actually had the most players, even though they didn't win the division.
Yeah, but did anybody truly win that division? Is the real question.
No, it was the race to last. Like they just beat up on the Texans and then tried to, Speaking of the race to last, let's go to the AFC East,
where the last place team makes it its home. This is going to be mostly the Patriots, but it's okay. All right, so that's what happens when you go 15-1, I guess. So quarterback, Deshaun Watson, pretty obvious choice. Dak Prescott may have made a push for it if he didn't get benched by his own coach.
If his coach didn't hate him.
Possibly.
I made the argument for Dak Prescott as the second-team All-Pro quarterback. I was shot down pretty quickly, but I thought it would have been funny.
Yeah, I would agree. Tua is somehow the only starter in this division that had a negative T ratio. Are you giving up on him? Is he done? What's the story there?
Well, the guy. So I guess I can talk about it. I had a trade agreed with the Niners to bring Brock Purdy over, and then the Niners left the league.
Oh.
I had an agreement I was gonna send him to. He was gonna send me Brock Purdy and a round 2 pick, and then he left. I was really disappointed when he left before we could make that trade.
Dang, yeah, that's the blue ball. That's some blue balls right there.
And then I was gonna trade him to the Texans to go take the scrambler. And Poe jumped me for the number 1 pick, so, No, I'm not giving up on 2. Yeah. Don't really have a choice. I would like to.
Yeah, that scrambler QB is very fast. But the only issue with scrambling QBs is if those traits don't line up, you're not going to have a good time regardless of what their stats are.
For sure.
Anyway, going to the running back and flex spot, continuing the AFC East All-Division team. Goes to Javian Hawkins of the Patriots and Najee Harris of the Dolphins, who both didn't even start all 16 games, but were both the best running backs in this division.
Yeah. These 2 guys just kind of blew up down the stretch of the season. Originally, it was Aaron Jones and I think Harris were the original when you and Poe did this list.
Yeah.
And Aaron Jones just didn't do anything down the stretch, and these guys just kept putting up 100-yard games. Hawkins ended up leading the league, and he only played 13 games. Yeah. And gave Cody the confidence to trade away Thurman Wyrick. So.
Right. I think that's called being a system running back, but what do I know?
Oh, 100%. Patriots running backs are system running backs, and we'll get to that with the offensive line.
Yeah, that's what happens when you cheese a superstar offensive line. Anyway, going to receiving here. Tight end, Kyle Pitts, pretty obvious. He was in contention for the All-Pro second team. But the touchdowns.
He would have been first team if he would have been first team if he had a couple more touchdowns.
Yeah, the touchdowns killed him. This offense just didn't score, so he kind of was subject to that issue. But the receivers were D. Westbrook, who was the number 1 receiver here, and then Stephon Diggs was the number 2 receiver here.
Yeah, I mean, both these guys had around 1,050. Westbrook had 9 touchdowns. Diggs had 6. Michael Thomas, if he would have done a little bit more receiving-wise, you could make the argument for him. But no, it's Diggs and Westbrook, and it feels bad for anybody else who has receivers, or did at least. Diggs is gone and Michael Thomas is gone.
So maybe the other receivers will be able to compete.
Yeah, so
Yes, we'll
let's just do this offensive line, and I'll just go to the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
for this.
This is the first time that I've done a few all division teams in the 2 leagues that I'm in, and this is the first time I've ever seen or ever had one team sweep a position group. And yeah, all of them were Patriots. I think that's partly because the Dolphins and Bills got automatically knocked out of contention because of their field general quarterbacks, and Dak Prescott apparently likes to take a lot of sacks randomly. So
and Watson has elite abilities for getting away from pass rushers. So but yeah,
whatever.
Go ahead.
Congrats, I guess.
All these guys here. That's it. We can go to the defense.
Yeah, I don't want to spend much time on that. I don't care. All right, defensive ends. The defensive end play in this division was, I want to say subpar, but I mean it was fine, I guess. But the 2 defensive ends we put here was Quincy Roche of the Dolphins and Frankie Louvu of the Jets. Who I didn't even know Frankie Louvu was a starter on any team.
Yeah, I think the difference between 1 and 2 here is the 8 tackles for loss for Roach compared to 3, or the 11 for Roach and the 3 for Louvu. But Louvu feasted on field general quarterbacks because he had a bunch of sacks against me, and I assume he had a bunch of sacks against you.
Yeah, most likely. I started zoning out of my games late into the season.
Yeah, I feel that.
My team was getting ran every week.
Yeah. Defensive tackle, one of them retired.
Oh, did Gino retire? Oh, Gino's gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gino's gone.
Good shit, Gino. You did great. Wait, Quad Short retired too, or is he just an FA?
I didn't see him in free agency.
All right,
I looked at D tackles.
Both D tackles retired. So let's talk about possible replacements for the D tackle spots in this division.
I guess it's these Derek Brown.
Yeah, Derek Brown and Le'Veon Morgan might make a push, but I was thinking more so Jalen Redmond of the Jets. Played pretty well this year. He's only 73 overall, but he played pretty well for being only 73 overall.
Right.
Folorunzu Fatukasi was actually in this D tackle spot. When I did this at the start, but he did nothing after I did this. Like he had to tackle.
K1 Short is now a Lion.
Oh, okay. Well, Fatukasi had 1 tackle for loss and 6 sacks at the midseason point, and he finished with 1 tackle for loss and 6 sacks. So.
Yeah. So he had a rough end of the season.
Yeah. Well, I assume what happened was Poe started putting Redmond in instead of Fatukasi. Maybe.
Probably.
I don't know. But whatever.
I would assume.
Whatever happened there. I don't know. D tackles were pretty sus in this division, but that looks to be on the up and up with some talent being influxed into the division. So we'll see.
So that seems like some cheese, Cody. He said he started.
Twyman played D tackle for this. Wait. Sorry.
He is 290. But he only had.
Wait, where's Twyman?
5.5.
Oh yeah, he's
5.5
he still wanted to make the list. Quan Short had 7 tackles for loss and 6 sacks, so he still played.
Yeah.
Played better than Twyman.
And Gottschall was about the same as Twyman, so you could have made the case. But it doesn't matter. Let's get to linebacker.
Right, yeah. He wanted to make it regardless.
Which is where this division shines.
Right. So, First two linebacker spots went to Tremaine Edmonds and Donta Hightower, both all-pro players this season. And then the third spot went to Jerome Baker from the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, another crazy tackle season for Edmonds. 13 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. Only the 1 interception, but he did force 4 fumbles. And then Hightower was insane.
Yeah, Hightower was a huge surprise for me.
19 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, an interception, 7 forced fumbles. Those 2 were amazing. And we've said it before, Tremaine Edmonds will be on the all-pro first or second team probably the entire Madden run. Baker had a nice season, 18 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, 12 deflections, 4 forced fumbles. In any other division, he's probably the best linebacker, but not in this one.
Yeah, for sure. It's unfortunate that he, lives in a division with a guy named Edmonds, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
Well, here's something that, you guys can be proud of. This might be the best duo of corners in the entire league as far as these all divisions teams are concerned.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one of them isn't here anymore, but Stephon Gilmore.
I mean, he's still technically here.
Yeah, technically, but he's not about to be. Stephon Gilmore and JoJo Brewer of the Dolphins get the nods here, who are both first-team All-Pro, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, being first-team All-Pro makes it
flex.
pretty easy to be best in your division.
All division. Yeah, 13 interceptions for Gilmore is insane. That's the 3rd straight year he's had double-digit interceptions. And Brewer he only had 7, but he had 319 return yards and 4 touchdowns. So, if he got the ball in his hands, he was probably scoring. He scored 2 in the wild card game against the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on to the safeties, which this division is not good for.
Yeah, considering one of them was mine.
Yeah, Theo Strickland and Harrison Smith, which I don't know where Harrison Smith signed.
Is still in free agency, actually. Actually, he might have got signed. No, I think he's still in free agency.
I looked for him because I got sniped at the end.
He might have got signed then.
And I was like, I want a good safety, even if it's an old man. Yeah,
he did get signed. I don't know where though.
I guess I could just look real quick.
Oh yeah, rosters.
I can just go here and see the league signings. The Saints. He signed with Sam.
Lame. Well, Sam gets.
Don't cry, Cirilio. I'm sorry. My bad.
Wait, why is Cirilio crying? What?
Because I kicked the shit out of him in the wild card game.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I was confused. Like, what happened? But Strickland got the nod here because, kind of like other spots, he was best of the worst. He did put up a decent season. He had a good amount of tackles for loss, 2 interceptions. He did fine. It's not like he was horrible, but definitely not amazing.
No, and I'm not going to look for Harrison Smith. I don't care about Harrison Smith anymore.
I think Harrison Smith barely beat out
the other rookie.
Yeah, Gillespie, just because he had I think he had some forced fumbles and some tackles for loss and stuff. I don't know. It was like he had a few stuff over him, so I just gave it to Smith just to avoid putting my own bias in there. Special teams kicker went to Aldrich Rosas because the other kickers in this division couldn't hit from 50 yards or more.
Yeah. Makes sense. Bailey.
Yeah, punter went to Jake Bailey. 45 punts and 20 of them inside the 20. I'd say that's pretty good. So.
Yeah, that's not bad.
He's also probably a product of an offense that actually moves the ball a little bit before actually punting it. So. Could be part of that.
True. This is fair.
Kick returner Because Javian Hawkins was the running back, he cannot be the kick returner for this division, so I went to Jakeem Grant instead.
The only other guy with a touchdown.
Yeah.
So.
Punt returner went to Jamison Crowder because he had the highest average and more consistent as far as punt returns go, since he had 29 of them than the other people in the division. So.
For sure.
But
makes sense.
Punt return is pretty. I mean, aside from checking the average, there's not much you can really do with that. But,
no.
Looking at the breakdown for this division, out of the 26 spots, the Patriots had 12 of them. Dolphins had 6. Bills had 5, and the Jets, even though they were better than the Bills, only finished with 3. Definitely a more team-oriented group than a individualized group where the Bills are right now.
I think if he would have kept Williams, he at least would have had one more.
Williams.
But Quinnen.
Oh, yeah.
Midway through
he
the
definitely
season.
would have got one of the DT spots, probably.
Yeah.
Don't doubt it whatsoever. Yeah. So,
the West.
The AFC West. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is probably going to run this spot for a long time, unless Justin Herbert or Justin Fields steps up in a massive way. It's just hard.
Which isn't going to happen.
Yeah, it's just hard to compete with a 99 overall X Factor guy. So, especially with the weapons he has. So, I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, Fields is close, I guess, but he doesn't have the yardage. But
yeah.
The only thing that I can say for Fields is his weapons are younger, so maybe, but
Fields is also getting a new Fields is also getting a new coach, new GM, new playbook scheme probably, so maybe he'll be able to benefit from that, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, freaking Serrano coming on the podcast, not turning on his freaking volume. Him and someone else joined that podcast, the last Doug draft podcast.
All right, so going to running back and flex, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Austin Eckler.
Yeah, these guys are good. Both of them over 1,300 yards, 10 and 9 touchdowns. You could make the argument here for Master Teague, but he's 300 yards behind.
Holy.
So.
Bro, sorry, I just now looked at the game going on tonight. I did not realize that. Jeez, have you been looking at the game?
Nope.
The Buccaneers.
Is it bad?
Guess what the score is right now?
Well, I know the Saints at least had 7 points. Yeah, who's winning, I guess?
The Saints are.
35-3.
You're close. It's 31-0.
That's really just.
Imagine getting shut out at home. All right. Yeah. Anyway.
Imagine being a Buck fan on a podcast and getting told that your team is getting destroyed.
Oh, are you a Bucks fan?
I am.
Not bad.
It's okay. I kind of figured they were gonna lose, so I like once they gave up that early touchdown where nobody covered Traquan Smith, I was like, okay, yeah, that's enough of this.
I'm turning it off. I don't blame you. All right. I don't watch a lot of my Chargers games. They just ended disappointment. So.
So the receivers, McCole Hardman and Henry Ruggs. This is all touchdowns here, I would assume. 9 and 8.
Tyreek Hill suffered from not scoring. So.
Yeah. And Noah Fant with 9, 16, and 7 at the tight end. It doesn't look like anybody. I guess O.J. Howard had a decent season, and Spade was okay, but
he still led in catches, yards, and touchdowns. I mean, not much discussion there.
Yeah, no. These guys. It's weird. You get a user who lets somebody stream every now, and Henry Ruggs starts going off.
To be fair, click on Henry Ruggs right now. Look at his game log for the season.
Well, now I'm out of. I'll go back to it. Was it all against the Bills? In that giant like 51.
Season stats. He had 181 yards and 2 touchdowns against me. So a pretty decent amount of his season.
Yeah, because if you look at these, like, I don't know, probably like half these games he's not that good, and then it's like a few games he was good. Okay,
And then
so I guess
he just plastered the Bills. Yeah,
I guess that's the secret if you want to have big games in the
just get the Bills under the
receiving.
schedule.
Yeah, because I don't know who your corners are, but I know that they're not great.
They weren't great this year. Plus,
Yeah.
Whitmer had a weird thing where his superstar abilities were locked, so he didn't even have any this season. So, I mean, he just has tip drill now, but we'll get to 85 soon enough. We'll be all right. All right. So anyway, going to offensive line, the tackles positions went to Sam Fleck and Daniel from the Chargers.
Fahalahi.
Yeah, whatever that name is.
Who was a first team All Pro based on his name, because there were three guys who had the exact same stats, and I was like, well, I like that dude's name the most,
Yeah.
so
Plus,
let's go with him.
He had, I assume that the other right tackles probably had a improviser or scrambling quarterback to help them out. So,
yeah.
Which I don't think the Chargers do. I don't think Herbert's.
No, they have a field general.
Yeah,
They've got field general.
I don't think Herbert's a scrambler. I think he's close, but anyway, left guard we got Dalton Risner from the Broncos. And then the center we got Rodney Hudson for the Raiders, who only allowed 1 sack. So he was towards the top of the league as far as that's concerned. Right guard we got Luke Godecki, who only allowed 2 sacks he only allowed 1 actually for the Chiefs this year.
Yep. Again, this is actually a decent division for offensive line, so
it's surprising too, considering they had 3. Who was the Raiders quarterback? Derek Carr.
They have 3 field generals there.
Wasn't it 4? Because isn't Mahomes a field general?
Fields is not a field general, if I remember correctly. I think Fields is a improviser, if I remember correctly. Nope, he is strong arm.
Yeah, so
it is.
So a division with
unless.
No, I think Mahomes is field general.
Mahomes is just 99 and everything.
But I think he's a field general. At least it shows he is. So I think that's what the Chiefs run with him. So I mean,
that's impressive.
A full division of field general / strong arms, and one of the better blocking divisions. So kudos to the AFC West for building these lines. They might also be succeeding from not streaming, but whatever. Anyway,
they don't have necessarily the best pass rushers either.
Right. Aaron Donald is scary. He's one of those guys that's going to compete for an all-division list year in and year out. At least he should.
Until he retires.
Right. Surprised he didn't do better, though. I thought he would perform a lot better.
He's had a weird last couple seasons. That first year, he was the easy pick for All-Pro, and then the last 2 years, 7 sacks last year and then 16.5 this year, which is good, but it wasn't the 42 tackles for loss and 21.5 sacks of year 1.
Right. Definitely fallen off a little bit. But that's to be expected with age. The second spot went to Uchenna Nwosu from the Chargers. Sorry.
Yep. Nobody else in this division.
5 sacks more than Rosu, and Rosu was the only other person with double-digit sacks. So.
Yep. And then I think that's probably the same for these two guys.
Speaking of double-digit sacks, the only 2 defensive tackles do have double-digit sacks in the division.
And again, another interception. So, I mean...
was that Tillery?
Yeah, Tillery had an interception. Yeah. So, congrats to these guys.
Going to linebacker, 2 of them actually came from Kansas City. The other one was Kenneth Murray Jr. from the Chargers. Willie Gay and Kevin Roach got the votes here for the other 2 linebacker spots.
Yeah, Roach was a guy who, if the Chiefs would have streamed enough games, would have gotten all rookie. I have to take him off and replace him. because he didn't meet the stream count, and that's disappointing because this dude's really good.
Yeah.
And Willie Gay had a nice season. The 11 tackles for loss and the 2 sacks.
And the
Murray
4
is
fumbles.
yeah, 4.
He was
wrong
hit.
person. Yeah. Murray's good. Phil's tried to get him to superstar twice with the call your shot and missed it both times. I'm sorry, Phil.
He's superstar now.
I think they were. Is he? So he must have got dynamic dev. Because he was not. Or a different.
Yeah.
Breakout game.
Possibly.
It's possible.
Yeah. That's true. No. I just looked. It's the year in dynamic dev.
No.
So I'm not sure about that one. But anyway.
Not sure if that's real.
175 tackles. That doesn't sound like middle linebacker numbers, but all right. Going to cornerback, we got Sidney Jones from the Chargers, and we got Trayvon Mullen from the Raiders, who actually traded teams this offseason and is still in the same division, but he is on the Broncos now.
Not much to say about these guys. Sidney Jones had a long interception return, the 6 deflections.
Those TFL sacks really help out.
Yeah, the 3 sacks here, and the 4 tackles for loss for Trayvon, and 9 deflections. So, not another not great division for corners, but hopefully the safeties can turn it around for them. I'm gonna assume that they did not, though.
Yeah, I got some bad news for you. Justin Simmons, the free safety of the division for the Broncos. The strong safety was actually Jonathan Abram, but I do not know where he is.
I do. He is in the NFC East now, and he is with the Washington football team. Excuse me.
Make sure you're not saying Abram actually had a pretty decent year. Definitely could have been better, but I mean, better than the rest, I suppose.
I wanted him on my team, but
yeah, he's solid for sure. I don't know why the Raiders didn't re-sign him. I don't know if he was asking for too much money, but
we'll never know.
Maybe the Raiders is going for a full reset after the bot ruined him. I don't know. But Justin Simmons gets the free safety spot. He didn't do a whole lot, but he had a touchdown. He had a couple TFLs, but
yeah, none of these free safeties were that good in this division.
Yeah,
so it makes sense.
Going to the special teams, which was not good. Michael Batchley gets the nod here, even though he had an 85% field goal percentage. The other 2 were sub 80 somehow. The Bills kicker wasn't even that bad, and this dude can't kick past the 50-yard line, so whatever.
Yeah.
All of the AFC West punters got cut, so I actually don't know where Sam Martin. I don't know where Sam Martin went, but he got the spot wherever he is. He might be in the free agency, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
So kick returner went to Rashard Fenton of the Chiefs. Again, the only guy in the division with a kick return touchdown, which seems to be a theme. Not sure how you fix that kind of thing, but there's a lot of return touchdowns in this league. Anyway, punt returner goes to Kyle Weaver. Was he all rookie?
No.
Oh, I thought he was.
I don't think he was. Phil made the all rookie special, or the all of the special teams Phil made. So if you have any complaints, please see Phil, but be respectful about it. Don't tell him he's a waste of a human being. That's just rude.
Yeah, true. Very true.
You can dislike Phil, but keep it civil.
Yeah. So the AFC West division breakdown: Chiefs and Chargers both had 8. Broncos and Raiders both had 5.
Pretty balanced division, which makes sense because they're all kind of bad.
Yeah. About as balanced as a division you can really get. The only way it can be more balanced is if you do 7-7-6-6, but I don't think I've seen that yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going to the Packers all-division team, NFC North all-division team. We start off with Jordan Love, and wasn't really close.
Yeah.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence is, putting up pretty good numbers, pretty good TD to INT ratio. I mean, he's doing solid, just not as good as Love.
And I mean, you're not going to get Gardner Minshew on there or Clay Griffin. And the Vikings don't have a quarterback. So.
Yeah, the Vikings was Cam Newton, who is in free agency. So.
Yep.
He wasn't competing for this list anyway. So.
Yeah, Love had 6 less interceptions and 200 more yards with just 1 less touchdown. So it's Love all the way. Not really that hard of a decision.
Speaking of not having hard decisions, A.J. Dillon gets the running back spot here.
Yep.
Because he's the only one that really did anything. Zamir White actually did pretty well, but he did nothing in the receiving game, so I couldn't really logically make sense for him to be counted here. Which makes us transition into the flex spot, which was occupied by Vikings Dalvin Cook.
Guys, play your running backs in the third down role if you want them to be considered for any kind of awards. They have to catch balls, especially like Nick Chubb, Zamir White.
I mean, unless you got a power guy that's running for 2K yards and like 23 touchdowns, and then, maybe no receiving yards can be overlooked and, looked past. But the odds of that happening is pretty low.
You come out in the shotgun too often for that to happen for a power guy.
Right.
So, if you've got another running back, maybe put him in the power spot.
Yeah.
Then they get 5 to 10 carries a game, and you're good. But A.J. Dillon, 15 touchdowns, 1,300 yards. Pretty easy decision.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm doing this year. I signed Fournette free agency, so Tomlinson's going to be, the main guy plus the third down, but I'm going to throw Fournette in the power, kind of balance it out. Because Tomlinson was getting a little tired last year. I'll tell you that much.
That's what I did. That's what I did with Singletary. I threw Singletary in the power back spot, so he gets goal line work, and it worked out fairly well for Najee Harris. So
right. So going to the receiver spot, we got Jalen Waddle for obvious reasons. Absolutely dominated.
First All-Pro, easiest All-Pro decision that we had.
Yeah, he dominated this year for sure. The second receiver spot went to Justin Jefferson of the Vikings, barely beating out Devontae Adams.
Yeah, 1 more touchdown, 30 less yards. I think you have to give it to Jefferson here.
Yeah. Adams got a lot more receptions, but Jefferson was in a weird situation, so I want to give him that recognition, because he wasn't really in a great spot as far as team surrounding him. So
right.
Tight end goes to the ex-Bills player who, these players make a lot of lists. Dawson Knox, 923 yards and 5 touchdowns. Barely over Cole Kmet as far as yardage goes, but 2 more touchdowns. So.
Yeah, easy pick. Irv Smith stays in the division, though. That's interesting. Goes to the Lions, huh?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Lions deploy both of those guys. I actually think the Lions are trying to trade Hawk. But at least I saw last on the trade block thing, so we'll see. Going to offensive line, let's see here. So we got David Bakhtiari for the Packers, who didn't have a great season, but the left tackles in this division didn't have a good season anyway. Left guard was Elgton Jenkins, who barely beat out James Daniels for the spot here. Center was Garrett Bradbury of the Vikings, who only allowed 2 sacks on the year. Right guard was Quentin Spain of the Lions, who went to free agency, and I think he still might be out there. Mitchell Schwartz got the right tackle spot here for the Packers as well.
And he is no longer a Packer, so
he went somewhere. I don't know, but
this
division struggled with sacks this year. None of them really did great. I mean the least amount of sacks allowed by a certain player was 2, and that was on the Vikings. And centers usually don't allow that many, so it was a bad year for this division for sure, as far as sacks are concerned.
For sure.
Speaking of sacks, we go to the edge position where the Packers were pouring it on, and Rashawn Gary and Zadarius Smith got the edge spots here for the team. Zadarius Smith is no longer on the Packers, and I am not sure where he went. Oh, here he is. He's on the Eagles. He finished with 15 sacks and 5 tackles for loss. He also had
you
2
look
forced
at
fumbles.
Gary was a monster. 12 tackles for loss, 20.5 sacks, an interception, 2 forced fumbles.
Yeah, Gary.
A safety and a and a touchdown. So yeah, good season for Rashawn Gary. Good job, Will. Because I probably wouldn't have played him because he's not that good,
Right.
in real life.
Speaking of another Packers player, which is a theme here, Kenny Clark, and this guy was scary as well.
Yeah, 12 tackles for loss, 11.5 sacks.
I mean, this guy's just dominant
safety.
in any league I'm in, to be honest with you.
Yep, he just is always really good. And then the other DT was Eddie Goldman. 8 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. So, it's a big drop off between Clark and then Goldman and the rest of the DTs.
Yeah, I hated not being able to put Woodard on this list, but he just fell off bad. I think I heard you guys talking about it on the all rookie thing. Talking about him. He fell off really bad. I don't know what happened, but
he got hurt, and when he came back from injury, he did absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So
I knew he was injured. He didn't do much after. But going to the linebackers of this division, an all-pro regular, Roquan Smith of the Bears, Jack Sanborn of the Lions, who was a nice surprise, and Leighton Vander Esch of the Packers.
yeah, I mean, these guys, it's pretty clearly these 3 guys, and then everybody else in the division. You look at 17 tackles for loss, 10 tackles for loss, 12. 6 sacks for Vander Esch, 2.5 for Sanborn, 4 for Roquan, 2 interceptions for Roquan, and then 7 forced fumbles, and 1 for each of the other guys. Not much competition in this division at the linebacker spot, and Roquan is another guy like Tremaine Edmonds who will probably spend a lot of time on all-pro teams.
For sure. I will say one up-and-coming star in this division, definitely can compete for the linebacker spot going forward, is Chaz Surratt from the Packers.
Don't you give that guy any love.
He had a good year, man.
You will.
He had a good year. I don't know.
He did. He had a decent year.
Oh, I didn't even see his message. I was just saying in general.
I was like, how did he? I was ignoring it just because Will brought it up.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see that message until just now. But, yeah, he had a good year, just not as good as the other 3 guys that are already established in this division.
Yeah.
Going to the secondary, cornerback spots, again, Packers, David Long Jr. and Jaire Alexander. Alexander, I think, probably had one of the higher deflection totals in the league, I would assume.
Yeah, 20 is up there.
He also had 3 interceptions and 6 tackles for loss, so definitely added to value there.
Yeah, and Long had 4 interceptions and 10 deflections, 3 tackles for loss, and a sack and a half. So, and he had 2 touchdowns. So it's pretty easy. The Packers have the best secondary in the division.
Right, but they actually don't show up on the safety list, which is actually kind of surprising. Strong safety went to Tracy Walker of the Lions, and free safety went to Eddie Jackson of the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Eddie Jackson, 5 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, a forced fumble, or a fumble recovery, excuse me.
Yeah.
And then Tracy Walker, the two interceptions, 5 tackles for loss, a sack, very low deflections, but that doesn't really matter to me as much as a strong safety.
Mm-hmm. You can
So,
make the argument for maybe Stephen Parker Hamza Nasruddin, I think. That's how you say his name. I don't know.
yeah, I just call him Hamstra and
Yeah,
then skip the last name.
right. So you can make an argument for those two, but I mean they're all pretty close. But Tracy Walker had a pretty good year, and he never gets recognition anywhere, so whatever.
For sure.
Uh,
I like it.
so special teams, we got Dan Bailey as the kicker, which he is gone. I don't know where he went. He's probably in free agency. I think he didn't miss a field goal this year.
It's very possible.
I don't think he
I
missed
don't
one.
know.
Because I don't think I would have put him over these 96 percenters if he didn't. So I'm gonna assume
Right.
I'm gonna assume he didn't miss a field goal. But this division was really good as far as field goal kicking goes. I mean, outside of the Bears, but the Bears kicking is always trash. Real life, Madden, everything.
Right.
The punters, this was a really easy choice because J.K. Scott had 19 inside the 20 on 50 punts, and the other two did not do that well. The other one didn't do that well either, so that's why he's not on their team, I guess. Kick returner, first time somebody doesn't have a touchdown here. So this actually probably would have went to Jalen Waddle, but because he's at the wide receiver spot, we go to Ronnie Bell of the Packers. The punt returner goes to Tutu Atwell for the Lions.
Yeah. Again, like we said at every division, you don't have a touchdown. It comes down to average, and those guys had the most average on their kicks, their kickoff returns and punt returns. So I can do the breakdown for this one since it's pretty easy. The Packers have 14 players on this list. The Lions have 5, the Vikings have 4, and the Bears have 3. It's been the Packers division for the last 3 seasons. Hopefully, Vince can start to turn that around this season.
Yeah,
But I
hopefully
doubt it.
Hopefully these other 3 teams
Compete.
I don't like having the same team on a division. That's why I also hope the same thing for the AFC East. I know I'm in the division and it's kind of biased, but like I also just don't want to see. It gets boring making these lists when I have to put the same team over and over. So hopefully they can compete and mix it up a little bit. We're going to the NFC South now, where Baker Mayfield gets some recognition, if nothing else, but for being in a division with not as good quarterbacks.
Yeah. I was looking at the CM chat. Yeah, Baker Mayfield, this is a bad division for quarterbacks. You could make the argument for Lance. He had a lot of rushing, but 15 interceptions, and I'm sure he had a ton of fumbles, too. Only 6, but still. Yeah, it's Baker Mayfield. Less interceptions, better percentage, more yards per game. So I think it's pretty easy.
Going to the running back spot. Going to pair running back and flex again. Ronald Jones II and Travis Etienne get the nods here for those 2 spots.
Yep. About 300 to 500 more yards than the next closest runner, and the same amount of touchdowns as Tevin Barker. So
the thing is, Tevin Barker honestly could have competed for this spot. He honestly probably could have competed for an All-Pro, at minimum All-Rookie spot. But for some reason, this guy has Puka Williams Jr. as the third down running back. I don't know why, but Puka Williams got 767 yards and 3 touchdowns that definitely could have went to Barker. He also got 86 rushing attempts, which, I mean, even half of those go to Barker, and you're getting, another 100, 150, 200 yards.
Right.
That's another one of those things where you mess up that third down running back, power running back kind of dynamic, and you're, kind of screwing yourself.
For sure.
But yeah, Tevin Barker definitely could have competed, but I'm glad he didn't, because then my running back got all rookies. So thanks. Anyway, going to receiver. This is one that I actually had to get some help on because it was close. CeeDee Lamb was not in this division, just so everybody knows.
Yep.
So Cooper Kupp was in this division. He just switched teams. But it was between Godwin, Kupp, and Calvin Ridley. It was really close and really tough. Ended up putting Chris Godwin and Calvin Ridley just because of touchdowns and yardage combined. Kupp had a lot of catches, but he didn't have touchdowns as much as Godwin and Ridley. You could honestly make the argument that Kupp should have been over him. But
yeah, it's one of those three, and this is a tough division because you've got a lot of really good receivers. I mean, you look at this, like Mike Evans isn't even in the top 15 receivers, and he's probably the best receiver in this division.
Yeah. Was he injured?
So
he only played 12 games, which probably was 11 because he got injured in one. But still,
yeah.
I mean, for playing 11 games, he only averaged 49 yards a game. So, yeah, very good division, and they just got an influx of talent with CeeDee Lamb as well. So, looks like Sam's really loading up to make Trey Lance successful, or at least hope that he'll be successful.
Right.
Tight end goes to Pat F. I'm going to call him Pat F.
Yeah, we'll call it that. That works.
I think you guys talked about it when you were doing all rookie. Anthony Perez was kind of disappointing. Definitely would have liked to see more out of him. He had 5 touchdowns, so he hadn't beaten the touchdown department, but he wasn't getting the catches. He wasn't getting the yardage. If he did, he definitely would have taken the spot from Pat, but unfortunately just wasn't up to par.
Yeah, and I mean, you could make the argument for Charlie Kohler, who had 7 touchdowns, but,
I think Charlie Kohler was actually in this spot at the midseason point. But
that sounds about right.
But he got overtaken by Pat F. So. All right, so going to the offensive line, left tackle and left guard both go to the Buccaneers with Alex Leatherwood and Jalen Mayfield. And now Alex Leatherwood is one of those things where he's just better than the others somehow because he allowed 10 sacks, but the others allowed 12, 13, and 15. So,
speaking Mayfield gave up 7.
Yeah, speaking of being better than the others, that's the same thing at right tackle with Taylor Moton, who had 10 sacks allowed. And the other right tackles had 21, 17, and 13. So, the tackles in this division just got abused. There's no way around it. I don't know what else to say. Yeah. They got abused. Right guard went to Chris Lindstrom of the Falcons, who had one of the lower sack totals in the division at 6. And then center went to Dennis Daly of the Panthers. I actually don't.
Yeah, I don't see him on here, but
let's see. Am I tripping? Did I put the wrong name? I don't even know where Dennis Daly is. He's not even on the team anymore. I don't know what he did, but apparently he was better than the others.
Yeah,
I'm not.
He was good.
But not hard to be better than the others when
they
just allow a bunch of sacks. So, whatever. Going to the defense, where, like I said, these edges ate a lot. Shaq Barrett was brutal. And then David Bowen was also very good in its own right. Even though he's not as good as Barrett, but he still dominated for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Barrett had the 8 forced fumbles.
Yeah.
To go with the 25.5 sacks, and Bowen only had 20.5 sacks with 1 forced fumble. I mean, Shaq was the runaway all-pro first edge rusher, so this doesn't surprise me. And then with the DTs, we've got Vea with 10.5 sacks and 9 tackles for loss, and then Lev Morgan,
who is now in the East.
Is now a Buffalo Bill with 12.5 sacks and 6 tackles for loss. So, pretty easy there because none of the other interior guys were that good. Like, Marvin Wilson was okay, but 6 less tackles for loss and 2.5 less or 2 sacks less than Lev Morgan when he was in the division, so
Right.
it makes sense.
So go to the linebackers with two guys who I think they both made All-Pro. I can't remember if
Yes,
CJ
they
Mosley
did.
did. Yeah, okay.
They did.
So Deion Jones of the Falcons, CJ Mosley of the Saints. They also had Levante David of the Buccaneers.
Just looking at it, it's pretty clear, like, 3 interceptions for each of these guys, and all of them had at least 11 tackles for loss. And they're all, 17 deflections for Deion Jones, 10 for Mosley, and 9 for David. And then, Mosley forced
too. Well, Jones did.
Yeah, 4 for David, 8 for Mosley, and 1 for Jones. Like, another division where the linebackers were just really, really good. It just seems like, it seems like Deion Jones is just one of those guys who had one of those seasons. I don't think he'll ever match this again with the 252.
Yeah, 250 is a lot. I mean, just
and he
for
was on the
reference,
field a lot.
I mean, just for reference, he had 70 more tackles than last season. So,
yeah,
don't think that's going to happen again. But
yeah, good for him though to get that first team All-Pro off this. So,
oh yeah, for sure. Going to the secondary. I mean, just because I'm at interceptions, Micah Hyde was on a different team. Just kidding. Antoine Winfield Jr. got the free safety spot for this division. And pretty clear why. He had 5 tackles for loss, a sack, and 5 interceptions. Pretty far and away better than the other free safeties here.
and Jordan Poyer is in free agency, so we can't see what he did.
Yeah, but he was really good too. I think he wasn't really good. He was solid, but the strong safeties in this division weren't that good. So whatever. So cornerbacks, Jonathan Jones just joined this division, so he was not part of it last year. The cornerback spots go to Sean Murphy Bunting and Dante Jackson of the Panthers.
4 interceptions, and nobody else had more as far as corners go. So pretty easy to see why these guys are there. 12 and 9 deflections, respectively, and 1 forced fumble for Dante. So nothing to write home about here. So,
and then going to the special teams, one of the only 100% kickers in the league, Gabe Burkick, whatever, I don't know, Gabe Burkick.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
The All-Pro punter Thomas Morstead, who's not on this team anymore, which got an All-Pro year and just got cut. That's whatever. And then the kick returner goes to DJ Reed Jr. of the Panthers. And the punt returner goes to Gordon McCain of the Falcons.
Yeah, whatever. These guys are, kick returners and punt returners and special teams guys who don't exist anymore. But so the Bucs had 9, which makes sense. They were the division winners. Falcons and Panthers both had 6, and then the Saints with 5. I think that number is gonna change a little bit this season.
Yeah,
with as much talent as the Saints have brought in.
Right, the Saints definitely got an influx of talent, so they'll be looking to overtake this division soon enough.
Yep.
Going to the NFC East, I did not realize Sam Darnold was doing this good. I didn't even realize that he was a superstar of development. Apparently, a superstar X Factor now, which is crazy. But he had a really good year. Brian Sharp probably wins this if Sam Darnold is not in his division.
Yep. Sharp had a nice season too, but it's Darnold, and Darnold's been way better this Madden than he is ever going to be in real life, which has been a theme in Madden with quarterbacks. So
right. I will say it is crazy to be in like 2 different leagues and see players be like dominant in one would be absolutely irrelevant in another. It's kind of funny to see, to be honest. But
right.
Moving on to the running back and flex spot here. The running backs in this division were all good options. I mean, other divisions, they probably all compete for the spots, but unfortunately only 2 of them can get it. So that goes to Miles Sanders, who was All-Pro, just dominating, and wants a bunch of money now. The flex spot goes to Ezekiel Elliott of the Cowboys.
Yeah, pretty easy to see why. Almost 1,800 yards for Sanders and 15 touchdowns. And, 1630 for Zeke with 18 touchdowns. Really good division for running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the best.
Yeah. Alvin Kamara maybe could have pushed for a spot here, but it's not one of those. Yeah. I'm not sure what exactly. He only had 515 yards receiving. He wasn't used a whole lot. He didn't really get as much work as he probably should have. So, but he still did good. Going on to the receivers here, Amari Cooper and Terry McLaurin of the football team.
Yep, first and second team All-Pro respectively. Both had really good years. 1,230 for Amari with 10 touchdowns and 1,180 for Terry with 9. So both these guys did really well. And then Evan Ingram down here with 1,115 yards and 5 touchdowns in a second team All-Pro spot. So
I will say this
is a.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I will say this was, when I was tracking these kind of things throughout the year, this was one of the more interesting and volatile groups as far as wide receivers is concerned. You also had CeeDee Lamb in this division throughout the year. I think earlier in the year when I did it, Quez Watkins and somebody else, Quez Watkins and CeeDee Lamb were actually the 2 receivers for this group. I think Jalen Reagor led this group at one point, and now we finished with Amari Cooper and Terry McLaurin. Really good group of receivers as far as this division is concerned. So,
yeah, this is the best group of receivers I think in the NFL as far as as a whole.
Right.
With how good they are. So
going to the offensive line, left tackle. Tyron Smith for the Cowboys allowed only 5 sacks on the year, which is pretty low for left tackle. Left guard was Deontay Brown for the football team. Center was Maurkice Pouncey, who I think he's still on the team. It doesn't show 0 sacks usually, so.
Yeah, and it doesn't show the other guy either. So.
Who, Deontay Brown?
Deontay Brown.
He's 6 sacks allowed. He's right below Brandon Brooks.
Oh, I was just looking at the wrong spot.
No, you're good.
Okay.
And then right guard went to, speaking of Brandon Brooks, right tackle went to Elijah Wilkinson, who's actually in free agency. And,
okay.
I thought he was better than what he was. You know what? Right tackle goes to Matthew Pert. He tried his best.
He also has Ricky Giles back there just running into sacks, I'm sure.
But, if I were you, I know you just signed Hopkins to a bunch of money, but please find a new right tackle. Giles doesn't deserve that. Nobody deserves that, really. I think that might be the highest sacks allowed total in the league. It's got to be, right?
I'm sure it is. To be fair, this is the best pass rush division in the league, I think.
That is true. Speaking of, we have one of the more dominant front sevens in the entire league. Probably the most dominant front seven, if I'm going to be honest with you. At least the front 4, if nothing else. Chase Young and Montez Sweat get the edge spots here. Both 20-plus sacks.
Yep. And, I'm just going to throw it. Jonathan Allen gets the first DT spot. These 3 alone combined for 60.5 sacks.
Yeah.
And
Deron Payne's nothing to be forgotten about.
Right. Yeah, and that's another 12.5. So that's 73 sacks between 4 guys. So yeah, this is absolutely the best front 4 in the league.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Deron Payne did not make the list here because Fletcher Cox did perform better than him, just slightly, but did perform better nonetheless. I would have loved to have
14. Yeah, it would have been really interesting if all 4 of the Washington football team were on there. But 14.5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Really good season for Fletcher Cox.
Right.
In year 11. So
although Washington football team will definitely need to look at building their defense elsewhere, because, spoiler alert, that's all they got on this defense, the front four.
Yeah.
So, going to linebacker, we got Gordon McPhee, who is a very big surprise. I know that he was like one of those, I think he was the only player in that first draft that was superstar that was like way lower overall than everybody else.
Yeah.
And then Jalen Smith of the Cowboys. And the third spot was kind of interesting between Angelo Brinkley and Davion Taylor, but I ended up giving it to Davion Taylor for the tackles for loss difference and some fumble recoveries and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a decent group of linebackers. 172 tackles, 20 tackles for loss for Davion Taylor. Jalen Smith with 12 tackles for loss, but 7.5 sacks and 178 total tackles. And then if you look at Gordon McPhee, 180, 13 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, but 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
And 13 deflections. Like, just a really good season for him.
I will say that this is one of those divisions where other linebackers could visit and actually make the all-division team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
easily. I think it's the same thing with the secondary, if I'm remembering correct.
Yeah, the secondary was
Darius
Slay and Sean Wade.
Yeah. 18 deflections for Sean Wade is nice. 2 interceptions, and then you've got 6 interceptions for Darius Slay. So, not a bad year. I want to talk about these safeties, though, because this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
2 safeties from the same team with Goodrich and Holland. I'm going to have to...
Yeah, they actually both had really good years. I was surprised.
Yeah, Holland with... Goodrich with the 4 interceptions, Holland with the 3, and the 3 sacks for Holland, and just 1 for Goodrich. But, I mean, this Eagles secondary pair is nice. Like, he did a really good job drafting those 2 guys. So
yeah, I was kind of upset. I thought my free safety might have a chance at all rookie. I didn't realize the Eagles safety was going off like that. So
right. So special teams.
Special teams was basically all Cowboys. Kicker was Greg Zuerlein, who's not on the team anymore. Punter was Pat O'Donnell, who's not on the team anymore. Kick returner was Tony Pollard, and I mean, he barely had a better average than Stephen Jones, but still a better average anyway. Punt returner actually went to Washington with Juan Bradford. So,
yeah, another kind of balanced division. 9 for the Cowboys, 7 for Washington, 7 for the Eagles. Only 3 for the Giants, but that makes sense. The Giants were kind of a surprise team for a little while until their dreams were crushed.
Yeah. So going to the last but not least division, NFC West, where we see Russell Wilson and the Seahawks win the Super Bowl, and also Russell Wilson win the NFC West QB spot for this division.
Easy call here. Less interceptions than Purdy. 2 more touchdowns. 76% completion percentage. If Kyler Murray gets his touchdown numbers up there, he's definitely in the running. Jalen Hurts is the surprise here for me, the 26-9, because I just got done watching Jalen Hurts play in another league, and he's bad. So,
listen, man, why?
I did. You'd enjoy. I don't know if you were actually the one watching the game.
I don't watch my games anymore. I hate that team.
Somebody joined about halfway in. And it probably looked a lot better. Jalen Hurts started off like 1 for 10 with an interception and should have had 2 fumbles that got called back somehow. But
yeah, I hate that team. Oh, well. I messed it up somewhere along the way. I don't know. Running back was really obvious. Probably the most obvious choice I've had in this entire sequence. Was way better than everybody.
Cam Akers, 700 more yards, 1 more touchdown. Not even a discussion. Yeah. Cam Akers, really good. Congrats to Corb for that, dude.
I also think this is the first division where the flex spot was not another running back.
It it is. I didn't want to talk about it until I got over to the receivers.
Yeah, so if you look at the top there, we got 2 really good tight ends. We actually have 3 pretty good tight ends.
Yeah.
The 2 a little better than the others.
Yeah, so George Kittle gets the flex spot with his 1,060 and 5 touchdowns. And Eric Ebron, obviously, is the tight end 1. Almost 1,200 yards and 4 touchdowns. Really good season for both these guys.
Honestly, I would have preferred to put 3 tight ends and 1 receiver, but unfortunately, the way these rosters are set up, we just don't do that. So the wide receiver spots go to Andy Isabella, who actually had a good season.
Yep.
And then Allen Robinson II gets the number 2 spot there.
Yeah, the 10 touchdowns are nice for Allen Robinson, 11 for Andy Isabella. The yards are good for Isabella. They're not as good for Robinson. And Higbee, you could make the argument that he could have been on tight end or receiver, but the 10 touchdowns really puts it over the edge for
sure.
Robinson.
Going to offensive line. So at the top here, just because they're right here, we have David DeCastro for the right guard spot. We have Connor McGovern for the center spot. They both allowed 1 sack on the year, so pretty easy choices for that. Left tackle, we have Zion Johnson of the 49ers. Left guard, we have Chase Roulier of the Seahawks. And then right tackle, we have Ryan Ramczyk of the Cardinals. Where is he?
He's not on here.
Oh, there he is. Go up.
Oh, there's 6.
Yeah.
6 sacks, so.
Not too bad of a season.
No, this is better than some of the other divisions, so.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Going to the edge spots here, we got Hassan Reddick for the Cardinals. We got Hamilcar Rashed Jr. for the Seahawks. That's one heck of a name.
Yeah, it's a great name. 14 sacks for Reddick, 12.5 for Hamilcar.
I will say, when I did this listing at the midseason point, all 4 defensive line spots were occupied by the Seahawks.
So good job, Roy, getting somebody off of there.
Yeah.
And whoever the 49ers user is now, I don't know.
Yeah, so the D tackle spots went to Darren Hamilton, who he's still withhold as a D tackle spot here for the number 1 spot in the NFC West. But Javon Kinlaw actually made some plays down the stretch and actually ended up with 10-plus sacks.
Yeah, so 10.5 sacks and then 14 for Hamilton. Good season for both these guys.
Man.
This is another division where I don't think the D tackles are that good, but 2 fumbles for Kinlaw is nice.
I will say, if you want consistency, Kinlaw is your guy. 3 seasons, he's had 10.5, 11 sacks, 10.5. So,
hey, if you like that, those 10 sacks, you're right there. This is your man.
That's your guy right there. Go get him. So this is the first division where I actually think I left the leading tackler off of the list. He just didn't have stats outside of tackles. So the first linebacker, we got Fred Warner of the 49ers. The second linebacker, who is no longer here, was Bobby Wagner for the Seahawks, who is now in the AFC East. And then we have Cole Holcomb for the Rams as the third spot here.
Yeah, really nice season for these guys. Fred Warner has been really good this Madden. 7 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions. The 14 deflections and the 5 forced fumbles are really nice. He's another guy who, if the 49ers used their stream more like Chris did, he probably would have made first-team All-Pro.
Yeah.
And Holcomb has been unreal the last 2 seasons. 12 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 2 interceptions. Not as many deflections or forced fumbles, but still really good. And Bobby Wagner is Bobby Wagner. 15 tackles for loss, 4 interceptions, 4 forced fumbles. So, good pickup for you.
Yeah, I'd like to see Micah Parsons do a little bit more, to be honest. He's a really good player. I think he suffers right now from this whole second ability closer thing without being X Factor kind of deal.
Yeah.
But still, he should definitely be performing better. He had a bunch of tackles, was all around the field. Just didn't make, impact plays, which is what we're looking for when we're talking about all division nominees. So,
For sure.
going to the secondary, which this was probably the most depressing
Ugly.
as far as secondaries are concerned. So the votes went to Dante Ness of the Rams and Patrick Peterson of the Cardinals, who I doubt is still on this team. No, he's not. He's not on
He's
this.
not.
So I don't know where he went. I think he retired, actually. I would assume he did.
Yeah. And then safeties went to Micah Hyde, who's now in the South with his 7 interceptions,
Yeah.
and Tyron with his 3 interceptions. It was an ugly division.
Yeah.
Nothing to say here about these guys, really. Just move on to kicker, where Austin Cyber is not here.
He's in free agency. I was actually thinking about signing him, but sad.
Johnny Hecker. Johnny Hecker, easy pick here. But really, none of these punters were that good.
No, not at all.
Debo with the touchdown, easy pick here.
Matt Fields
kick
also got a
returner.
touchdown, but he only had 6 returns, so.
Right, I saw that, and yeah, he had that nice 37.3, but he only had 6 returns.
Right.
So, and then Marquise Stevenson, yeah. Breaking it down, you got 8, 7, 6, 5 with the 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. Surprised to see the Niners have the most players on the team, but
Yeah, these all division teams are always interesting because you could have the best team in the division and somehow end up at the bottom of the list as far as this is concerned. Because and it's always fun to do these because you could have like the best team, but
right.
some teams just have players that get better stats and like make more
Yep,
plays, right?
Yep, individual players who just way overperform what their draft spot or what their team position is. So,
Right.
for sure.
But that will
All right,
do
well, I
it for
think
the all division teams. I don't know why I said it like that.
yeah.
But
So yeah, I'll get on and upload this to YouTube, guys. But thanks, Sean, for putting this list together. It's a lot of work, so I really appreciate it, man.
no problem. I hope everybody in the league enjoyed it. Sorry if your players didn't make it and you think they should have. Hopefully next season they can, just be better, I guess, and
Yeah.
make the list.
So, all right.
All right, thank you guys.